Okay, so today we're going to talk about two different types of probability, theoretical and experimental. And we're going to apply both of those to some of the objects that you see, the spinner, the dice, or the die, and the penny. So on this slide, we're going to talk about theoretical probability of a dice. So if I were to roll this dice, what are the outcomes I could get? I could roll a 1, I could roll a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, or a 6. There are 6 different sides, so the denominator of each one of these slides is going to be 6. So the probability of rolling a 1, the first statement, would be 1 out of 6. The probability of rolling a 3 would be 1 out of 6. And the probability of rolling a 6 would also be 1 out of 6. I didn't include all the values, so I'm missing the 2, the 4, and the 5. I hope you're thinking to yourself, the probability of rolling any one of those will be 1/6. That's the theoretical, what we could predict could happen if we were to roll this dice. Okay, so we're going to take a look at experimental probability now, and you can see the results in the chart. I rolled one die 24 times, and these are the numbers that came up. So I rolled a 1 3 times, I rolled a 4 4 times, and I rolled a 6 6 times. So these are the results of an experiment that I actually conducted. So I actually physically rolled the die, and these are the results. That's experimental. So if I asked you what the experimental probability was of getting a 2, you would tell me that it was 5/24. What I want to ask you is, which one of the probabilities in this table was closest to what we predicted? We predicted it would happen 1/6 of the time. So if I were to roll 24 times, not 6, 24 times, what is the equivalent fraction to 1/6? Well, 6 times 4 is 24, so 1 times 4 is 4. So we're looking for the number that happened 4 times. Which one happened 4 times? The number 4 happened exactly the same as what we predicted. Both happened 1/6 of the time. Alright, so here we have a penny, and we're going to look at a theoretical and experimental probability of the penny. So in theory, I could get heads or tails. So that's 2 different sides, and 1/2 would be the probability of heads, 1/2 would be the probability of tails. So now we're going to look at the experiment and decide which one happened closest to its theoretical probability. In the experiment, we had 4 heads and we had 8 tails, which means we had a total of 12 outcomes. So now we need to decide, is 4/12 or 8/12 closest to 1/2? So if we're talking in terms of 12ths, we know that half of 12 is 6, so we'd be looking for 6/12. So based on these results, could we say that one happened closer to the theoretical probability than the other? I'm going to say no, because 4 is 2 away from 6, and 8 is also 2 away from 6. Both happened 2 away from the theoretical probability. Neither one is closer. Okay, so let's take a look at these experimental results and compare it to what we would predict should happen. It looks like each section of the spinner is exactly the same size, so purple should have happened 2 out of 8, and yellow 2 out of 8, 7, 1 out of 8, and the blue should have happened 3 out of 8. So when I'm comparing, my first step is to figure out how many times the spinner was spun. So if you look at the experimental results and you add up the number of times it was spun, you get 16. So in your results, it's going to be something out of 16. So I like to take what we predicted out of 16. So 2/8 out of something out of 16 would be 4 out of 16. The yellow would be the same because they're both the same fraction. The blue would turn into 6 out of 16, and the red would be 2 out of 16. So if we look at the results, purple or yellow, did it happen 4 times? No, but yellow's pretty close at 5, so we may have to revisit that one. The blue happened 6 times, and that's the exact fraction we got. So it looks like blue's going to match, but we're just going to check the red one too. So we're saying that red should have happened 2, which is not exactly the same as what happened in the which is not exactly the same that had happened. So we're going to say that blue was the closest.